Hello, welcome to the July 2023 Gaming PC Builds of the Month. My name is Corey with NewbComputerBuild.com. As you see in front of you, or if you're listening elsewhere, this is just the general update for the Gaming PC Builds of the Month. If you've tuned in prior, you might notice that I'm doing things a bit differently this month around, as I'm going to amalgamate all of the builds into this one piece, just to kind of bring them all together. And what those builds are, budget-wise, I'll get into in a quick second. However, usually these monthly builds are split into the separate budgets, into separate pieces of content. However, I've decided to kind of put them all into one to make it easier on you. However, if you have a certain budget in mind in terms of what PC you're building, I will be going through them in order. So I'll tell you that order in a second, from the highest budget down to the lowest budget. And then also, I will try to, if you're watching this on YouTube, for example, I'll put links in the description in terms of where you can go in the video. However, this video shouldn't be too long as it is. I will preface the updates for each of the budgets and so on and so forth. If you're just checking this out for the first time and you're trying to build the most up-to-date PC, one that is, these PC builds are put together based on a price per performance sort of perspective. So basically, you're going to get the best performance for dollar spent, with the most up-to-date hardware for the current month. And so this month is July 2023. But let's dive into it. So what are the budgets that I'm going to go through? There's a few there is 4 builds that we're going to go through. The first one is the $1,500 build. Second is the $1,000 build. And third, $800, and then the $500 build. So who are these builds for aside from the budget? So you obviously might have a certain budget in mind when you're building your PC. Let's say it's $1,500. Well, these builds will suffice your kind of needs there, but more so if you have a certain performance benchmark in mind or a certain game you want to play, you can look up benchmarks for some of the hardware that's included in these builds. But more generally, these builds will aim for certain performance metrics in gaming in general. So the $1,500 build, for example, will be for those that really want to game at 2K resolution or 1440p into 4K resolution very well. And even more so, if you wanted to play more on the higher range and to the higher 4K resolution, you can consider, like, for example, which we won't go through here, is but if you visit NewbComputerBuild.com, if you go to the dedicated $1,500 PC build page, there's upgrade alternatives if you want to kind of push the performance even further than that. But this is kind of the general performance that this build is aiming at. For the $1,000 build, what we're looking at is gaming at max settings into 2K, gaming at max settings at 2K resolutions or 1440p resolutions. The $800 build would be max settings at 1080p and playing into 2K resolutions fairly well. And then the $500 gaming PC build is just those that really want to get in at the most budget level in terms of building a PC. Get up in gaming, you can play games, they'll be scaled back in settings, obviously, and that'll be at like 720p into 1080p resolution sort of perspective. But the $500 build also gives a lot of upgrade potential to add. It does use integrated graphics on the one that I'm going to propose today. So it gives a lot of upgrade potential should you want to add a graphics card later and really pump that performance up or scale your PC up later down the line. But let's jump into it. We're going to start with the $1,500 gaming PC build of the month for July 2023. All right, we're going to start with the CPU. So the CPU for the $1,500 build this month is the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. This is the same CPU that was included last month and was newer not too long ago. It really utilizes that AM5 platform from AMD, so we really take advantage of that DDR5 memory capabilities in this one, as you have to, and then kind of taking our PC builds to the next generation. That's really what this is all about. So we have the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X for $239 now at the beginning of July 2023. You want to save a few dollars here, or a little more dollars, and get a slightly less performing CPU, and it's not by much. You could consider something like the Ryzen 5 7600. That's the non-X version. This CPU, which we'll get to into the next build, is also included in the next build, which is the 7600 versus the 7600X. Not to confuse things anything further, for this build, we have the Ryzen 5 7600X. The cooler included, since there's no cooler with that CPU, is the Noctua NH-U12S Redux Air Cooler, $54.95. It's a pretty good cooler. If you wanted to get a more robust cooler, you can go with something like an AIO or an all-in-one sort of cooler, and which we do have suggestions here if you visit the site and look into the upgrade alternatives. Motherboard, but this should be all you need, to be honest, is this air cooler, unless you want to get more complicated with your build or have more control over your cooling. Going into the motherboard here, we have the MSI Pro B650P Wi-Fi Pro Series motherboard, $189.99. I do want to note that this is like $20 cheaper than it was in the prior month, so it's a bit of a better deal this month. Graphics card we have is the Asus GeForce RTX 4070 OC edition. Graphics card at $599.99. This is really the what really pushes the performance of this build in the $1,500 build. If you want to bump it up, you could consider something like the 4070 Ti, which would really boost your gaming performance. However, you will pay, I want to say, a couple $100 more. So keep that in mind. Memory we have is a Crucial kit of 16 gigabyte memory, 2 8 gigabyte 6 of DDR5 memory, 4800 megahertz memory this month at $39.99. SSD we have is a Crucial P3 Plus, 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, plenty of space, plenty of speed for storage, $45.99. Power supply we have is the Corsair RM series RM850 watt power supply at $119.98. Again, this is another thing that's gone down in price significantly this month, bringing the $1,500 build way down, which is awesome at $119.98. PC case we have here is the infamous Corsair 4000D. This case is a great case in my opinion. I've recommended it in this build for so long only because it's such a quality case for such a great price, and it will not let anyone down. However, again, PC cases are dependent on the PC builder. If you want to spend more, spend a little less. Up to you, depending on your kind of threshold for how much cooling you want within your case, but also the case really sets the tone for your kind of overall PC style. So sometimes different builders, different cases. So keep that in mind. You don't have to be locked into this case, but it is a good quality, solid case that comes in at a good price at $94.99 at the moment. Another thing that has gone down in price. So the estimated price for the $1,500 build for July 2023 is actually $1,384.88 at the beginning of July. That's phenomenal. There's plenty of room for slight upgrades and maybe storage or memory should you want to, or if you want to spend a little more, your graphics card for sure. So like I said, you could consider something like the 4070 Ti. Might need to go a little over $1,500, but there's a little more room for budget there or for saving for later, for example. All right. Moving into the next one, we have the best $1,000 gaming PC build of the month for July 2023. For the $1,000 build, differs slightly from the $1,500 build. We have for the CPU, like I had mentioned prior, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 7600. That's the non-X version. This one comes in at $219.99, and this CPU does include a cooler. So we're going to utilize the AMD Wraith Stealth cooler. So no cost there, but you could always upgrade your cooler should you want to or should you need to in the future. By all means, for sure, such as the cooler that we suggested in the $1,500 build, or something more complicated than that, or more stylistic should you want to. So keep that in mind. Motherboard we have is the Gigabyte B650M DS3H micro ATX motherboard at $150.85. Graphics card for the $1,000 build, upgraded actually quite a bit this month. It's a newer graphics card that was recently released. This is the Asus GeForce RTX 4060 Ti OC edition graphics card, $389.99. Great price for a great card. It from the prior generation, which was the 3060 Ti, performs a little bit better than that one, so that's also a plus. So that's the graphics card that's included. For memory, we have is the Crucial 16 gigabyte kit DDR5 4800 megahertz memory, $39.99. Storage is the Crucial P3 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, $45.99. And then the power supply to power this build is the EVGA G5 650 watt power supply, fully modular power supply for $109.99. And then the case we have is the Zalman S2 at $54.99, which is a great case, great budget case, mind you. So like I had mentioned prior, the cases chosen are really cases that really try to minimize the cost while also being a quality case that would be good enough for the build. Mind you, there's always better cases with better airflow or better whatever. But really, again, you as the PC builder need to decide on the case and the aesthetic you want and go from there. Overall, though, I would recommend this if you're looking to maximize your budget, $54.99. So this budget for the overall, the cost for the July 2023 for the $1,000 build comes just over $1,000. And that was to squeeze in the new GPU, which is the 4060 Ti. but it gets you in there. If you check out the GPU from last month, you'd still be good. Slightly less performance, mind you, and you can check out June's build if you want to really check that out. But I think this is worth it at $1,013.79. Moving on to the third gaming PC build of the month. Here we have is the best $800 gaming PC build of the month for July 2023. Not too many updates if you've been checking out this build prior. It did go down in price a little bit and is still a great build. So even better if you've been kind of holding on the brakes for a bit on this build. But let's jump into it. The $800 build, just as a reminder, this is kind of the every person sort of gaming PC build. It will suffice and get you good gaming performance at 1080p, and you can even play into 2K pretty decently, or 1440p resolutions, just to preface. All right, let's kick it off with the CPU. CPU included in this one is an Intel Core i3 13100F CPU. This one's at $119.88. Fantastic CPU. This one's not in stock. You can also consider the non-F version, the 13100. Up to you. Just depends on which one's cheaper. And since we include a graphics card, it does not matter which one you go with. But like it says here, so the CPU is like the Intel 13100, but cheaper and without integrated graphics because we don't need them, and we're including a GPU. So this one should be in stock and should be cheaper than the non-F version. Moving on, we're using the included cooler, which is the Intel Laminar cooler. No cost there. Motherboard we have is a Gigabyte B760M DS3H motherboard, coming in at $119.99. Graphics card for this one is a superb graphics card for $800 gaming PC build. This is the XFX Speedster AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT for a swift $349.99. For memory, this is a DDR4 kit of Corsair Vengeance 16 gigabytes, two 8 gigabyte sticks at 3600 megahertz at $41.99. Storage is the Crucial P3 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, $45.99 at the moment. Power supply for this one is the PVIA 600 watt Prestige power supply at $51.99. And then the case, which is the similar case used in a lot of the builds I have proposed this month, is the Zelman S2, $54.99. This comes in at $784.82 at the beginning, or estimated at the beginning of July 2023. So a bit under $800, maybe room for tax, whatever it is, should suffice your budget if your budget was $800. Again, like I'd said prior, if you do have a different budget, want upgrade alternatives, you can visit the site, newbcomputerbuild.com, and there are upgrade suggestions here. Or, more than welcome to visit the site or whatnot, leave a comment and ask should you have questions on, well, either this build or upgrades, should you have those as well. Moving on to the last gaming PC build of the month for July 2023. This is the best $500 gaming PC build of the month. Before getting into it, again, I want to preface this build, the $500 build, this is really that lower budget. Either you're just learning to build PCs, you want to get into the PC building market, don't have much to spend. Great entry build. This will get you up and playing games, scaled back at 1080p, maybe higher settings at 720p if you wanted to go that far back in resolution. But this will get you up in gaming. No issues at all. It does utilize the integrated graphics on the CPU that I'll mention in 1 second here, which is great because it does provide a lot of opportunity for the future. In terms of adding a graphics card when you have money to spend, and it would really pump up that performance on your build significantly in terms of this build, in terms of gaming. So keep that in mind. However, if you have a little bit more over $500 to spend, I would recommend going with a CPU GPU combo, which I do have in the upgrade alternatives of this build on the site here at Newb Computer Build. However, you can also consider upping your budget to, for example, the previous one that was mentioned was the $800 one, and you would get significantly more gaming performance that way. So it's either the upgrade alternatives for this one to bump up your performance or the $800 build. Those are kind of the two suggestions I'd have if you have a little more than $500. However, if you have $500, this is more than sufficient as well. Let's jump into it. I digress. The CPU we have is the AMD Ryzen 7 5700G processor, and this includes Radeon graphics integrated into the CPU. This comes currently at $167.99. This CPU includes the AMD Wraith Stealth cooler, so no cooling needed for this build. Motherboard we have here is the Asus TUF Gaming A520M Plus Wi-Fi motherboard. This is a micro ATX board at $99.99. Like I had mentioned, no graphics card included here as we're using the integrated Radeon RX graphics on the CPU. For memory, we have a kit of Corsair Vengeance LPX 16GB sticks, 28GB sticks of DR4 3600 MHz memory, $41.99. The storage here is the Crucial P3 1TB NVMe SSD at $45.99. To include a 1TB NVMe stick in a $500 build is phenomenal. So this is a great inclusion, in my opinion. Power supply here is the Thermaltake Smart 500 watt power supply, more than enough to power this build at $39.99. And then the case to throw all of this hardware into and make it whole, is the Zalman S2 mid-tower PC case at $54.99. And this build for July 2023, the $500 gaming PC build of the month, comes in well below $500 at $450.94, which leaves you either rooms for upgrades, or like I said, if you do want to have the most significant boost in performance and gaming performance, you could consider something like a CPU GPU combo that isn't the Ryzen 7 5700G, but you will need to check out the site for that suggestion at newbcomputerbuild.com, or check out the $800 build that was mentioned prior to this one in the gaming PC builds of the month update that we're going through right now. All right. Well, that does it for the 4 gaming PC builds of the month for July 2023. If you have any questions, comments, anything for any of these builds, different budget, whatever it may be, please leave a comment. Visit the site, newbcomputerbuild.com. But until next month, if you're planning your gaming PC builds, we update these every single month to bring you the most up-to-date deals and hardware per dollar spent. So, yeah, until next month, best of luck building your best gaming PC build. Thank you.